She was given a broken helicopter. The general's words rang in her ears. "This is for you." A woman in a male-dominated field, expected to fail, to give up. But what happened next left everyone speechless. She didn't just fix the helicopter, she transformed it. In that moment, the base saw something they'd never expected: a woman defying every expectation, rewriting the rules of what was possible. What did she do? And what does her story reveal about the world we live in today? At first glance, Lieutenant Maya Thompson was just like any other officer in the Army, focused, disciplined, and passionate about her work. She had always dreamed of serving her country, of wearing the uniform that symbolized honor, strength, and resilience. But she had no idea that her biggest challenge wouldn't come from the enemy. It would come from within her own ranks. The base was nestled in the heart of a remote military outpost where soldiers from all over the country came together to train, prepare, and fight. For Maya, it was supposed to be an ordinary assignment, a place where she could prove herself, just like any other soldier. But from the very first day, she noticed the stares, the whispered conversations when she walked by, the doubt in their eyes, the feeling that she didn't belong there. Her skills were sharp, her training was impeccable, but in a world where women were still a rare sight in the field and where men dominated every role, Maya had to work twice as hard to be seen as an equal. Every movement, every decision was scrutinized, and it wasn't long before she realized that some of her colleagues didn't think she could handle the toughest assignments. It all came to a head one morning when the general, the most respected officer in the base, walked up to her with a helicopter, one that had been grounded, a casualty of the previous night's storm. It was a wreck, parts missing, engine damaged, wiring exposed. Maya looked at the helicopter and then at him, expecting him to give her a command, a clear direction. But instead, he said something that would shake her to the core. "Maya," he said, his voice flat, "can you fix this? This is a man's job. Are you sure you're up to it?" The words hit her like a slap. She had been ready to prove herself, but now, here she was, challenged not by the helicopter, but by the disbelief in the eyes of her superior. This wasn't just about mechanics or training. It was about something much deeper. It was about the expectations placed on her, the gender bias that made her question if she could ever truly be seen as an equal in the eyes of the military. But in that moment, something inside her shifted. She wasn't about to back down. She wasn't about to let someone tell her what she could or couldn't do based on her gender. It was time to show them all, that she could not only fix the helicopter, but prove that women could thrive in spaces that had been reserved for men for centuries. Before we continue with the next part of this powerful story, we need your support to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. We believe in sharing these impactful stories, but we can't do it without you. If you're enjoying this journey, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us. Collision. Also, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and tell us where you're watching from. Has something like this ever happened to you? How did you handle it? We want to hear your experiences and start a conversation that matters. Your voice is important, and sharing your story could inspire others. And don't miss the last part of this story. It has a special twist just for you. Stay tuned for a revelation you won't want to miss. Now, let's dive back into the story and remember, together, we can make a difference. Raising hands. The tension in the air was thick as Maya rolled up her sleeves and approached the broken helicopter. The mechanics who had been standing around, eyeing the wreck, murmured amongst themselves. They didn't believe she could do it. They didn't think a woman could take on the challenge of something as complex and demanding as fixing a military-grade helicopter. But Maya wasn't worried about what they thought. She was focused. Her hands moved with precision, her mind sharp, thinking through the problem step by step. But as she worked, the eyes of the others didn't leave her. Every now and then, she caught a comment, a whisper. "She'll never make it," one said. "Not a woman's job," another muttered. It wasn't just the men who doubted her. There were even a few women in the base who believed that women should stick to roles that were more fitting. Maya had heard it all before. The helicopter was a mess. The engine was beyond repair unless she could rewire some of its components, And that was no small feat. Maya could feel the weight of the challenge as she analyzed every part of the machine. She had to get everything right. The last thing she needed was to fail in front of everyone. Yet, even as she made adjustments, some of the soldiers continued to doubt her. The whispers grew louder. One of the senior mechanics walked up to her, leaning in with a mock expression of pity. "Maybe you should leave this to the professionals," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You're wasting your time." But Maya didn't flinch. Instead, she paused, looking up from the engine with the steely resolve. "I'm not wasting my time," she replied, her voice steady. "I'm doing my job." The work was grueling. Hours went by, and the tension between her and the others only grew. But with each passing minute, Maya proved that she could fix it. Her hands worked tirelessly, repairing the wiring, adjusting the components, and recalibrating the engine. Sweat dripped from her brow, but she didn't stop. She was determined to show them all. She wasn't going to let their prejudices define her. As the day wore on, more and more of the soldiers gathered around. They had started out skeptical, mocking her, but now they were silent, watching her with wide eyes. The humming of the helicopter's engine was a sound like none other, the sound of a woman who had just defied the odds. Maya wasn't just fixing a helicopter. She was dismantling every assumption, every belief that women didn't belong in these roles. With one final turn of the wrench, the helicopter roared to life. The crowd fell silent. Even the general, who had doubted her from the start, was standing off to the side, his arms crossed. He couldn't hide the look of astonishment on his face. Maya had done it. The impossible had been achieved, not just because of her technical skill, but because she refused to let the expectations of others dictate her worth. But the question remained, had this moment really changed anything? Or would the next challenge be just as difficult, just as filled with prejudice? The helicopter was fixed, but Maya knew that the true battle was still ahead. Would they truly accept her? Or would this be just another story of a woman who proved herself, only to be dismissed again? As the helicopter's engine hummed to life, the base fell into an eerie silence. The men who had once doubted her now stood still, their eyes wide with disbelief. Maya wiped the sweat from her brow, a mix of relief and quiet triumph flooding through her. The sound of the engine, once broken and dormant, was now a symbol of everything she had just proven wrong. But then, the general stepped forward. His stern face, which had been neutral throughout the entire ordeal, shifted into something unexpected. He stood in front of Maya, his arms crossed, studying the helicopter, before turning back to her with a piercing gaze. "You fixed it," he said, his voice low, almost begrudging. "But why?" The question hung in the air, as though daring her to back down. The base was still watching, the tension so thick that it was almost suffocating. Maya took a deep breath. She could have smiled, basked in her victory, but this was bigger than just one helicopter, one moment. This was about the larger fight, the fight to be seen as equal, to prove that her gender didn't make her any less capable than her male counterparts. "I didn't fix it for you," she said, her voice steady and clear. "I fixed it for me, and for every woman who has ever been told she can't do something because of her gender." The words hit the base like a slap. The general stood frozen, no words, just the realization settling in. He had assumed the same thing as everyone else, that a woman couldn't do this, that she wasn't cut out for this kind of work. But Maya had just proven him wrong. As the men around her began to murmur, some in admiration, others in stunned silence, Maya knew this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. She had won battle, but the war against stereotypes, against systemic sexism, was far from finished. The days that followed were filled with mixed reactions. Some of the soldiers, particularly those who had doubted her from the start, came around, offering hesitant nods and even words of encouragement. But Maya knew the truth. Their acceptance didn't come easily. It was a facade, a change forced by her actions, not by any real shift in their views. But there was one thing that Maya had done, something that couldn't be denied. She had shown them all that women belonged in every space, no matter how challenging or male-dominated it was. She had shown them that gender was never the real barrier. It was the preconceived notions that held everyone back. The general, despite his initial doubts, couldn't deny the impact Maya had made. He didn't fully understand her drive or her purpose, but he respected her ability to do the job. That was enough. In a world that often only rewarded actions when they fit into predefined boxes, Maya had broken those boxes open. Yet, the real victory wasn't just in fixing the helicopter. It was in the quiet moments that followed, the subtle shifts in how her fellow soldiers regarded her, how they began to understand that she wasn't just fighting for her place at the table. She was fighting for every woman who had ever been told she wasn't enough. Maya would go on to face more challenges. There would be more instances where she had to prove herself, where people would doubt her, dismiss her, and challenge her. But she knew she had already won. Her success was not just a personal triumph. It was a testament to every woman who had ever faced discrimination and defied it. In the end, Maya understood that true change didn't happen in a single moment. It happened in the small, everyday actions, the way she carried herself, the way she worked tirelessly, and the way she proved that being a woman didn't mean she was any less capable than a man. Her journey wasn't just about one helicopter. It was about every woman who had been told she couldn't, when all she had to do was show them that she could. Maya's story didn't just end with her victory over the helicopter. It became a spark, igniting the fire for change, for equality, and for breaking down barriers that have long held women back. This is not just her story. It's the story of countless women who have fought against stereotypes, fought against discrimination, and have come out victorious. But the fight isn't over. The question now is, how will you make a difference? Will you stand up when you see injustice? Will you challenge the status quo? We want to hear from you. Have you ever faced a similar challenge or seen someone fight against the odds? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe in stories that push for change, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, share, and help us spread the message that change starts with one person, one action. If you believe in stories that challenge the norms and inspire real change, we need your support. By subscribing, you're not just supporting the channel, you're becoming part of a movement that pushes for equality, justice, and empowerment. Don't miss out on future powerful stories that need to be told. So hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your friends. Let's start a conversation that matters and continue to stand up for what's right. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Together, we can make a difference.